check back then, VJ. Great set of stories here, really eye-opening stuff. All this week, we've been telling you about a widespread risk on the shelves of pharmacies that's rooted in the production of drugs all the way in India. But there's a vulnerable population in the U.S. that has already felt these consequences, and we're talking about cancer patients.
Yeah, from shortages triggered by Indian plants destroying lab records to medications using dangerously incorrect ingredients. Senior investigative reporter Lisa Fletcher takes you inside how the U.S. reliance on Indian chemotherapy drugs is hurting patients.
Getting cancer is terrifying. Not knowing if you can trust the drugs used to treat you is even worse. Most cancer treatments rely on generic drugs, and the U.S. is heavily dependent on those made in India. New research reveals some of them are incorrectly made and even dangerous.
We found products that had less than half of the amount of medicine that they were supposed to contain.
Maria Lieberman's team at Notre Dame tested chemotherapy drugs, mostly from India, that supply more than 100 countries, including the U.S. Her research, just published in Lancet, tested more than 180 cancer drug samples made by 17 companies, 16 of which are in India. About 1 in 5 drugs failed to meet basic standards, some containing less than a third of the necessary active ingredient. Others had way too much.
It's a battle between killing the cancer and killing the patient. So if the dose is too high, then you're damaging the patient unnecessarily. If the dose is too low, then it may fail to treat the cancer.
One drug made by Venus Remedies, sold outside the U.S. and often used to treat lymphoma, failed every test. 6 of 8 samples contained less than half the active ingredient claimed by the manufacturer. Our research revealed Venus is currently engaging with the FDA and positioning products for the U.S. Cisplatin, a key cancer drug in the U.S. supplied by Intis Pharmaceuticals, more on them later, failed 1 out of 4 times to contain the correct dose of the active ingredient.
When there are these kind of bad products in the market, then it damages all of the work that has been used to develop the medicine. And by creating those doubts in the minds of healthcare providers and patients, that's a big source of stress.
Pediatric oncologist Dr. Yoram Ungaru wrestles with that daily.
The quality issues are tremendous. It's great to have a drug, but if the drug does not meet the standards that are required, it's not only not good, it oftentimes could be bad. And there are plenty of examples when tainted drugs of poor quality and inferior quality, including chemotherapy for children, have been used.
When manufacturers are caught, you might assume buyers simply turn to someone else. The truth is, for many of these drugs, there is no one else. And when production stops, it sparks a different kind of crisis: nationwide shortages of life-saving medicine.
Any patient being told the words that my 9-year-old had to hear is not okay.
Laura Bray's daughter Abby was in treatment when the family was told the child's life-saving medication was no longer available.
And then my 9-year-old asked me, "What does this mean?" She said, "Well, do I die?" No one had an answer for her. Right? I didn't have an answer.
The worst recent shortage in 2023, caused by Intis, that same company that failed 1 out of 4 samples in Professor Lieberman's tests. FDA inspectors found a cascade of failure, including a worker throwing acid into a trash bin to destroy test records. The factory was temporarily closed, and with it, supplies of critical chemotherapy drugs disappeared from U.S. hospitals.
In a situation like cancer, we don't have alternatives for the overwhelming majority of these diseases. I cannot just swap out cisplatin for paclitaxel or cisplatin for mitomycin. Doesn't work like that.
What do you tell parents?
Well, you tell them the truth, and you tell them that these are grueling, excruciating situations, so you end up delaying treatment. You end up a situation where people's lives are directly and absolutely affected by this.
A choice no one should face: bad drugs or none at all, in a global system built to put profit over patients. Intus Pharmaceuticals did not respond to multiple requests for comment. We should note that Abby Bray, the little girl you met in that story, is doing well. Her mom became an advocate for other families after fighting to get Abby the drugs she needed. Still, the supply chain issues remain.
Lisa, every night this week, your stories have really kind of exposed how our dependence on these generic drugs with the rock bottom prices, I know that's the attractive part, has created a system that we can't really trust for drug safety. The problem seems on its face overwhelming. Is it, or is it fixable?
There's a lot that has to happen, Scott. It is a really complicated conversation, and we had it with Dr. Marty Makary, the chief of the FDA. Tomorrow night, the promises he's making, along with some major moves in the making from Senator Rick Scott, to try to fix this once and for all.